Again, I'll walk you through how to do that step by step, but know the intention is called a brand position map. And just because you're far away from the market doesn't mean it's not smart to target. But you have to be willing to move toward it. And if you're willing to move toward it as an organization, then go after it. Own the market. And then again, what I love about these is it tactically tells us what we need to do to get there. So remember this example? Hey, I know what to do to get there. And that information is going to feed our next step, which is if we're not going to create offerings or put together a promotional piece that explains all our family-friendly offerings, we're not going to get this market. So tactically, it's telling me what to do. And again, that's what a strategy should do. It should help us become better marketers by telling us what to do to be more effective. Love this chart. Love, love, love how simple it is to visually explain to anyone what's going on in this market based on assessment information that we've learned. This gets to, it's like a SWOT analysis summarizes this for us. Now in the eyes of the market, what do they think of us in terms of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? I know 100% of the time, if we reflect on our SWOT analysis with the eyes of our market in mind, that SWOT analysis is going to look differently. Not everyone thinks it's really awesome that we have entertainment till 2 in the morning here. You know, some people aren't going to value that. It might be a strength as I see it generally, but when I really start thinking about the needs of a target market, that SWOT analysis will change. So you'll have to reflect on that in this chapter's assignments too, to really start to learn that every market is different. And if we're going to target them, we really have to get into those distinctions of the experience and the distinctions of how to reach them to be as effective as we can. Our last step of this process is to write a marketing objective. And if an existing marketing plan had an objective, I pulled a bunch out and I said, hey, this is what these marketing objectives currently said. We're going to increase the number of groups. We're going to establish and increase our statewide visibility. We're going to create a healthy community. We're going to reduce our no-show factor in this professional ball team by 50%. We're going to raise brand awareness and recognition of our state as a desirable travel destination. We're going to increase revenue from the social market by 5%. We're going to develop supportive programs, print ads, radio, and TV. That is what we're going to do. We're going to encourage press coverage for golf articles in our golf course. And for this athletic club, we're going to develop member upgrades, retention, and participation programs. So what do you think about these marketing objectives? I think you said some are better than others. And what makes a better marketing objective is nothing that you haven't learned in probably many other settings. A marketing objective should be SMART. And we use that acronym not because I made it up, but because it makes sense to use it because it applies here. An objective should be measurable. First of all, it should be specific. So specific in our case should be, it should have the target market represented. It should be measurable. I should know when you did it. I should be able to pat you on the back, give you a high five, give you a bonus, whatever it is, and say, oh my gosh, you did it. That is so awesome. But if it's not measurable, how do I know if it was worthy of that distinction? So SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, or moderately risky, reflective of your mission, have a time frame, and always remember to include the target. So I actually spell SMART with 2 T's just to remember to include the target market. One of the distinctions from these objectives that you'll see is no one lists a target market. They're generic marketing objectives. And if you pulled any of the samples from our real organization marketing plans, you'll see a similar type of approach. They have a marketing plan, so if half have a marketing plan, right? But of those half, has anybody set their stake and planted it in the ground and said, guess what, this year we're going after 2,000 more family visitors at my resort that come from the Chicago area and have kids between the ages of 5 and 18. We're going to go after 20 more weddings from last year. Oh, and by the way, we only had 10 weddings last year. So we're going from 10 to 30 weddings this next year. So you can see some numbers that help quantify in this case. So in this case, reduce the no-show factor by 50%. But 50% of nothing is what? Nothing. I told you we're going to use math here in marketing too. So if we're going to reduce the no-show factor by 50%, if our existing no-show factor at this professional ball team, we have 60,000 seats and no-show, which means we already sold the ticket, but they're not coming, so our seats look empty, which is really awful for a professional team, right? If we sell the ticket, we need the body in the seat because it looks better on TV, looks good for the other fans, it looks good for the players, right? Motivates them. So lots of reasons. If you buy a ticket, we want you in this ticket. And we certainly want to reduce that. But what is it to begin with? Because 50%, if I have, let me back up, I have 60,000 seats in this venue, and I sold 30,000 seats. And of those 30,000, 10,000 don't show. Well, if I'm trying to reduce that by 50%, that's a way different story than if I already sold 30,000 seats, but my no-show factor is 1% of that, if that makes sense. So if I'm looking at 300 people versus 3,000 people versus 30,000 people to reduce, it's going to tell me how much action I need to take. So if I don't have existing numbers, it's really hard to set a meaningful marketing objective to understand. If I'm going to increase weddings by 20 new weddings, well, how many do I currently have? And what's 20 mean? Is that a lot or a little? I don't even know. How many is out there? What's the potential? It's so hard to be meaningful if I don't understand what the story is. But if I know I had 10 weddings this last year in my new barn venue, which is the hot thing in weddings, it seems. I had 10 weddings last year, and I'm going to go to 30 weddings this next year on Fridays only. Now we've got something measurable and something to work with, because those 10 weddings were probably all on Saturdays, and now you're trying to do something with a day that's not as busy. Good for you, marketers. So most of these, boy, how about for this conference center, increase the number of groups. I wouldn't be able to high-five you or say great job, because I don't know how many groups you had last time, and you're not holding yourself accountable. So regardless of your supervisor saying to you do it or don't, we know based on research that if you write a meaningful objective, you are more likely to achieve it. The data says plant your stake, make it solid, and make it very clear. How about measuring creating a healthy community? It sounds like a vision, right? Or sounds like a broad goal. It does not sound like a marketing objective. We can take a bunch of actions towards creating a healthier community, but currently how healthy are they? Where are we going from? We're going to go from a 25% obesity rate in our community to 22% next year. And now I've got something to focus on and strive toward, right? If I had the data to begin with. So really hard in this section, if your organization hasn't measured who they're currently serving, you might not be able to write a marketing objective like this, but that's going to be our goal. So writing marketing objectives, we want them to be SMART. Specific, measurable, moderately risky, attainable, but let's go back to that for a second. Moderate risk. Let's see, we have 10 weddings this year. We're going to go to 11 weddings next year. That wouldn't be very risky. And in fact, you would wait all year, do a couple bridal shows and fulfill your objective in that case. But if you're going to go from 10 to 30 next year, that might take some more work. But if you're going to go, I have 10 weddings this year and I want 200 next year, well, you may just set yourself up for failure. And we know that. You know that in your own personal goals. You want to graduate from college and get your bachelor's degree in 10 years. Well, changing that time frame and saying, no, I want to finish my bachelor's degree in 2 years. Well, both of those things are not effective, right? If you were a brand new student post-high school, You know, the reasonable amount of time is 4 years. And guess what? 4 years anymore is pushing it. It's a hard thing. We know that. We want you to get done in 4 years, right? But that's not easy. So that is a moderately risky objective, to be able to be in and done with a bachelor's degree in 4 years, right? So set yourself up to work toward it. Don't make it so easy that you don't work at it, and don't make it so hard that you set yourself up for failure. Be realistic on what is going to push you, and do that with all the objectives you write, but in particular, you're going to do that with your marketing objective. And then finally, again, make it reflective of the mission, have a time frame, and make sure you put the target market in there. So I'm going to go and increase the number of senior citizen men between 65 and 75 within a 10-mile radius of our facility who have interest in competition and socialization as it relates to the fitness experience. I'm going to go from 100 to 300 members in that description by December 31st of this next year. 2016, 17, 18, 19, every year. Our annual marketing plan looks at a year out. Now, that might not make sense to always have it be the end of our fiscal year. And it might not. I might be a golf course. Well, it doesn't make sense to pick December when our season wraps up here by November 1st. So maybe the end date is November 1st. Maybe the end date is, again, a baseball team is going to be completely different. So what we do know is they all should have those elements. So target market is women between 25 and 55, Midland County. They're looking for all those things. We used this example before. And currently they have 43 students because they did their homework. Good for them, right? And they knew this studio actually had 43 students, and they wanted to increase that by 20%. So a very aggressive objective. Adults between 25 and 35 interested in affordable entertainment and socializing, increase this by 25%. What's the problem here? 25% of nothing is nothing, right? If I don't know who, increase the number of families that travel and stay in Muskegon County from 400 to 700 by the end of 2015. So thankfully they had that pre-number, but most organizations and most of the plans that you write will not have that data currently. This distinction of a market and how many people they're currently serving. So the way we counter that, until your organization gathers the data of who they're serving and has a better handle on this topic, until then, you're still going to make a measurable objective by refining this and saying, we're going to have 100 new students by next year. We're going to serve 300 more families next year. We're going to bring in this age market, another X amount of people. So each of you is to develop your target market assessment. And again, what do we know about them? The more we understand their needs, we're better able to serve them and better able to write a target market objective. So take a look at your assignment for the week, and then again, watch the video as I walk through the thought process of how to break this overall market down, and take the steps I'm asking you to do this week. So once we have this strategy, we've got to own the market. And our next step is to begin the promotional marketing and communication mix and how we're going to achieve the objective. So welcome to Chapter 7 and beginning of Chapter 8. A powerful, difficult, challenging step of the process. Most organizations have not planted their stake really solidly toward 4 to 8 target market niches that they are going to own, and they're going to serve better and meet the needs better to make this overwhelming marketing process way more effective, way simpler, but these steps are really hard to make sure we've done our due diligence. So glad you're with us. Keep working hard. You're there to make a difference, and you are. So see you.